Hello everybody and welcome to today's webinar, the PPC Playbook, 11 Ways to Turn Prospects into Customers. My name is Michelle and I'm just here to get things started before I pass things off to our experts. So for those of you who are not familiar with WordStream, we are the go-to in the industry for lots of free resources on all things PPC and online advertising. We also have free tools as well as some paid tools that can help you get the most bang for your buck in all of your paid advertising efforts. So with that, I'm going to introduce today's presenters. Once the presentation's over, you will all receive an email that will have the recording that Alan and Brett put on today. You'll also receive the webinar deck, so you can feel free to, if you're struggling to take notes throughout, don't panic. You will receive an email with everything that we cover. And we will also save time for question and answers at the end. So don't be shy. Be sure to submit those questions throughout the presentation. Brett and Alan are here to help. So a little bit more about Alan and Brett. Alan Finn is a content marketing specialist here at WordStream. He started as a member of our managed services team, so he's very familiar with helping people make the most successful progress within their accounts. Brett is a senior marketing specialist for paid acquisition here at WordStream. He manages all of our in-house paid advertising efforts for WordStream. Both Alan and Brett love to grill. They wanted to make sure that you all knew that today. Alan and Brett really do make a great team here at WordStream. They consult each other a lot on our own paid advertising efforts. So I'm really excited for them to share that insight with you guys today. Like I said, be sure to submit those questions throughout the presentation and we'll save time for them to get to them at the end. So without further ado, Alan and Brett, take it away.
Okay.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you. Okay, so the fact of the matter is that some people just aren't ready on day one. To begin this webinar, we're going to use a little New England Patriots analogy. We're based in Boston. Brett and I are huge Pats fans. Picture of Tom Brady's face next to our desks. But basically, Tom Brady came to the NFL. He was drafted in the 6th round. He ran a terrible 40-yard dash. He does not look like a professional athlete. Tom Brady is your unnurtured prospect. Tom Brady is going to require some love. You're going to need to break down some walls, move him down the funnel to turn him into something workable. A nurture program is what allows you to make this happen. So you can take the guy who runs the 5.28 40, the guy who splits time at Michigan, and then turn him into a champion. He is now a customer, not a prospect. This happens because a winning nurture program, like a winning NFL team, does 3 things. It creates brand familiarity, so classic New England Patriots, Bill Belichick, no days off, do your job, catchphrases for days. A good nurture program, like a winning NFL team, provides immense value. Tom Brady, 5-time Super Bowl champion, 4-time Super Bowl MVP, 2-time All-Pro Comeback Player of the Year. The perfect customer. And finally, a good nurture program handles objections. It pushes the limits and it creates positive results, just like, you know, Bill Belichick, Malcolm Butler winning the Super Bowl. You get it. Unfortunately, many businesses only use email to nurture their prospects. And while email is a great nurture tool, we do it here to wonderful effect. We have, as Michelle mentioned, a lot of free resources that we send our prospects. Emails can get lost in the shuffle. Everybody does email nurture. These are some pictures from my promotions folder in my personal Gmail account. Just in one morning, there are like 20 promotional emails, 250 already diverted to spam. And then on the right here, we just have some open and click-through rates for email marketing in various verticals. As you can see, they're pretty low. Most of the open rates, and that's for a number of reasons, but there's adversity that you face with email nurture. Some more statistics speaking to that are that 48% of emails are opened on mobile devices, but only 11% of email templates are optimized for mobile, which results in 69% of mobile users deleting these emails, a huge deal considering 64% of decision makers, the people who will pull the trigger, who you want to convert at some point, are reading those emails on their phones. Fortunately, you can use paid search and paid social together to thwart email overload and low open rates, resulting in a better nurture experience for your prospects.
Cool. So today you're going to learn how to pre-qualify leads with AdWords, nurture prospects with Facebook and AdWords, turn leads into customers, so you can spend your time doing this instead of this.
To kick things off, we're going to dig quickly into the role that AdWords should play in your funnel, and then Brett's going to touch on what Facebook should do as part of your nurture funnel, and then we'll get going with the 11 strategies that Michelle mentioned right out the gate. So AdWords in your nurture funnel. Basically, AdWords has a role to play at every stage of your nurture funnel, also before and after your nurture funnel. In other words, it's an integral component. But to start to fill your funnel, you need to be building campaigns, ad groups around navigational keywords. These are keywords that they're pre-information seeking. They're people just learning about something, developing a foundation before they start doing actual research and are in buy now mode. On the search network, as I mentioned, navigational keywords, so very broad things. The examples here: Facebook, Citibank login, White House website. On the display network, this might be putting some ads on targeted websites with managed placements, trying to pull people who might be tertiarily, tangentially interested in your offering into your funnel so you can nurture them. As we move down the middle of the funnel, this is where AdWords is going to play a predominantly nurture-based role in your marketing efforts. So from a keyword level, this is where you're going to be providing value and creating brand familiarity. Both of these are essential to basically garnering enough trust from a prospect that they feel they can convert, that you're deserving of their conversion. On search, again, informational keywords. You could also use something like RLSA, remarketing list for search ads, to modify your bids based on the kind of audiences that you're advertising to in the nurture component. Pay a little bit more for nurtured prospects. We'll get into some ways that you can tweak your ad copy dynamically in accordance with the stage that somebody might be at. Finally, the close, garnering a conversion. This is you bidding on transactional keywords. These are people who have been nurtured, ideally, and you bring them in at the end and make some money. This is also probably going to include branded keywords because the familiarity is already there. They're not people who are unfamiliar with the experience that you offer. Long tail keywords. And finally, I would include large, long play remarketing audiences in this section. Basically, people who converted 2-3 months ago, getting back on their screens and trying to bring them back, create a lifetime customer.
Facebook in your nurture funnel. So Facebook's role in all this is to essentially take all those leads that you're driving from whatever channel you have within your marketing programs, whether it's your website, your AdWords programs, and even Facebook itself. And the idea is to essentially leverage what Facebook is extraordinary at, and it's a sophisticated platform that can essentially allow you to reach people in a way that is really unique and far outperforms other channels. So essentially what you can do is take these leads that you acquire from other channels, and you can really strategically and effectively nurture them in a very cost-effective way to become customers for you. It's essentially like using other channels and passing those leads onto Facebook so that they can finish the race for you. And now, 11 ways to turn prospects into customers.
Okay, so number one is keyword research and audience definition. This is really pre-nurture and will take us through the nurture process, but it's defining the subset of people you'd like to advertise to, and then honing your message through keyword research. So here on the screen, we have the keyword suggestion tool, an example of a keyword search for, and you get an idea of the frequency, the competition, and approximate cost per click of that term. This is where you're going to start. This is the how for your methodology, basically. You can determine where keywords might fall in the customer's experience through your funnel, and then tailor your message to that. Next to that, we have an example from the AdWords UI of just a demographic breakdown from an account. So we have male, female, unknown, gender. We have a few different age groups and parental status. AdWords gives us significantly less demographic information to work with than, say, Facebook, which we'll get to in a second. But it's still pretty useful if you know, for example, that most of your customers are married men in their mid-40s, then you might be willing to pay a premium for those clicks, or maybe you only want to be in front of those audiences instead of showing to a wider pool. It's not always great to cast a wide net. In keeping with that theme, on this slide we can see that your ads, rather, they could show in a variety of ways, right? So they could show on the side of a page, they could show as a banner, they'll show on a mobile device, they could be pre or mid-roll, or they could be on a SERP. You should keep experience in mind when you're creating ads, ensuring that it's going to be as seamless as possible for your prospects. And Brett's going to get into picking the right ad format in a little bit. Here we also have examples of how you might layer targeting on the display network for a specific type of campaign. So, for example, with a direct sales campaign, you probably know who you're targeting. You want to use a target and bid setup, meaning that only the people who you want to see your ads will see your ads. And there are a few different ways you can do that through layering keywords and placements. So if you sell auto parts, maybe you only want your ads to show on websites that say muffler and are from a pool of 50 sites that you've inputted manually. For a branded campaign, really that's more about awareness and creating value. So you want as many people to see that as possible. And you guys will get the deck. This basically just outlines a few ways that you can find slightly targeted subsets that are still very, very wide. When it comes to Facebook, you really have like near infinite opportunity to define your audience, which you can use in AdWords as well. Once you find subsets of people that work, you can begin using that to inform your managed placements on the display network and the way you write ad copy. But basically, Facebook lets us choose from a ton of demographic information here, and we can look at interests and behaviors. So if your ultimate customer is a single vegan father of two in North Dakota, or like an investment banker in London or New York or Shanghai, whatever, you can find how many of that person exist and market exclusively to them using Facebook, which is pretty cool. And to tie this back into nurture a little more explicitly, Facebook allows us to remarket, make similar lookalike audiences, and use emails for targeting, which we can then use in AdWords as well. It just lets us create a seamless cross-platform experience provided for using the right ads.
So number 2, find the right ad format for your offering. So Facebook, it's very obvious that you have a plethora of options when it comes to creating a campaign. You can do it by a ton of different campaign types and objectives. But when you tie that back to nurturing, what's very and extremely important is the actual ad creative that you're using, and aligning that throughout your nurture funnel. For a quick example here, obviously you can use a variety of different creative types, from stagnant images to videos to carousel ads. The way that we've approached this at WordStream is essentially taking that example on the left there is a promotion for a white paper or a guide. It's very simplistic. So we use a static image to kind of replicate that simplicity within an ad. And then you take something like the promotion on the right, which is the AdWords Performance Grader. It has a lot more complexity and a lot more sophistication to what the actual offer is and what the experience would be like for the end user. So what we do is we essentially replicate that with our ads. And we show, obviously, we use a stagnant ad for something very simplistic, and something like a GIF, where we took a video and we trimmed it down and turned it into a GIF for kind of a more complex offer, but we made it in kind of a more digestible way. That also goes for your business type. So say you're a business that provides a lot of different products that could still be relevant to the same individual. That's where carousel ads would be most effective for you, like if you had a restaurant or any other type of product or service. Number 3, align messaging between platforms. So this is a good example of Alan and I talked about taking AdWords and Facebook and having them work together seamlessly. This is a great example of that. This is an example of a text ad in AdWords for how to make great landing pages, which is a piece of content. So you can see the text ad on the left there, and then on the right, the subsequent landing page. So once individuals fill out this form to receive their guide, they're taken to a thank you page like this. Now, this thank you page is a unique URL that I can go in here and I can copy this URL and I can put it in Facebook, and I can tell Facebook, I want to remarket to everyone who visited this page. So essentially what I'm doing is I'm taking everyone who converted off of that paid search ad, and I'm creating an audience out of them over time that will accrue more and more people. Now what I can do subsequently is take the idea of that ad, which is how to make great landing pages, and people who are converting on that ad obviously are interested in improving their landing pages, or at least landing pages is a subject of interest or something that they want to improve. Now what I can do is take, from a nurture standpoint, I want them to progress and take the next action that is lower down our funnel, which would be the AdWords Performance Grader. Now obviously that's a very robust offering that shows you, every section of your account and every section of AdWords. It's very complex, but the part that I can hone in on in the messaging and in the copy is landing pages, because it's extremely relevant to that audience and their needs.
The 4th item on our list is to make sure that tracking codes are in place and working, because if they're just on your site but they're not firing, then they may as well not be there at all. Basically, you're going to have different snippets of code for each advertising platform that you're using. So whether it's AdWords, Bing, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Pinterest, what have you. I would recommend, to ensure that everything is working correctly, that you download the Google Tag Assistant Chrome plugin. Basically, this is just a friendly little dude that hangs out in the corner of your browser, and it'll tell you if your code is implemented correctly, if it's firing, and if there are issues. Sometimes it will tell you what they are and how to fix them. Also worth noting is that WordStream, if you use our software, we have a unified pixel that will pull all of these things into one place, make it much easier to use them. We also have implementation team for troubleshooting questions which inevitably come up, especially if you're dealing with more complex kinds of tracking like dynamic remarketing, for example. So quickly, we'll just run through the AdWords, Google Analytics, and Facebook tracking codes, give you an idea of what they look like, how to make sure they work correctly. If you use the AdWords conversion tracking code, basically you're going to define the type of conversion you're tracking. Is it something on site, a purchase, a form submission, an app download, a phone call, or something else entirely? Note that if it is something else entirely, you're probably not going to want to use the AdWords code to define it. Odds are something will go haywire at some point. I would definitely recommend sticking with analytics. which we'll talk about in a second. But to install AdWords tracking code, once you've defined all of the parameters, you just copy the code, which is blurred out here on the left, and then make sure you paste it between the body tags of the pages you'd like to track conversions on. Personally, I prefer to use the Google Analytics code for conversion tracking. This is because it's probably already on your site. You're probably using it to measure organic traffic or any number of other metrics pertinent to your business. It offers you the ability to create more complex and, at least I've found, measurable, useful, reliable conversion goals. It also is just super helpful for remarketing. You can download groups of audiences and they can start building immediately. You don't have to define anything yourself, and that's a great springboard for like really honing your nurture program once you've got it off the ground. But to make this work, you're just going to copy the website tracking code. It's at the bottom of the image on the left with the number 3, and paste that onto your website between the body tags. And if you're using Tag Assistant, you should have a nice smiley little green face if everything is working. In the example I showed you a few slides ago, everything is blue because there are multiple universal analytics IDs on that site. Sometimes that happens. Don't do that. The last thing is Facebook. Facebook looks a little bit different. Here's what the code looks like, bottom of the screen where it says 1, 2, 3. Basically, there's your code on your website. There's the Facebook pixel at its basic level, and that little 3 where it says add to cart in the middle, that represents some of the advanced features. If you're trying to track different things as conversions through Facebook, you're going to want to play with these. If you're not a developer, I'd recommend pulling in some kind of developer resource to make sure that you have that functioning exactly as you like it. You can just let this GIF play through one more time because it's pretty cool. If all of that seems scary to you, don't just not use some kind of conversion tracking on your website. You could use something like Google Tag Manager, which gives you a container that you don't have to mess around with code as much. There's just one much cleaner piece on your website. So setting that up initially can be a bit of a pain, and you might want to pull in some kind of resource that knows what they're doing to get that done. But from there, unless you're doing some kind of dynamic remarketing, you probably be all set with Google Tag Manager.
Number 5, develop and grow remarketing lists. So as Alan talked about with the Facebook pixel, essentially what you want to do, and it's really important when you're doing all this, especially for when it comes to nurturing leads, is that you want to make sure that that pixel or that piece of code is implemented everywhere in your website. Like there's not a page where it's not there, because over time Facebook is going to essentially accrue these audiences and they're going to build. And then what you can do is, what that allows you to do is it allows you the flexibility to go in and make really refined, very granular segments out of that base audience. So essentially what you can do is you can go into Facebook and specify, anyone. You can target very broadly anyone who visits your website, and it will target everyone who's been on every single page. Or you can have people who visit specific pages, people visiting specific web pages but not others, people who haven't visited in a certain amount of time, and then people based on their time spent on your website. And then obviously at the bottom you can take a custom combination and mix and match all of these different things together. Some examples of that you can see on top are kind of the broader sense ones, where I took the top 5% of our 30-day remarketing, top 25%, top 10%. These are rather broad, yet they're the people that spend that percentage of time on our website. And then on the bottom, you can see kind of more refined, more granular. These have to do with conversions. And this is kind of really where the nurturing comes in, where you can take people who have converted on content downloads across our marketing team and our marketing efforts, or people that have visited 30-day low funnel pages or pricing pages, or committed what we deem as low funnel actions. Another huge driver of WordStream's business is our blog. And obviously our blog, as with AdWords and paid advertising, it's very diverse, and there's a lot of different topics that interest different people. And kind of building off of that, I've decided to segment or use this as an example of breaking out the topic of landing pages that kind of caters to a specific segment of our audience. So what I can do is I can break out this landing page group of people who spend a lot of time on our blog and show them a very relevant landing page ad.
Number 6 is using if functions in your text ad copy. So I like to look at if functions as the choose your own adventure book of AdWords text ads. Basically, they give you the opportunity to slightly alter your ad copy based on one of 2 parameters, and those parameters are device and audience. So from the device perspective, this is sort of Google's post-expanded text ads answer to the lack of mobile-only ads outside of call-only ads. And then I think the audience subsets of if functions, they're great for nurture, obviously, because you can use the lists that you've been building, the subsets of your customer base or future customer base that, like Brett was just alluding to tweak your offering so it speaks explicitly to where somebody is in your funnel, what you think their mindset could be. Here's just a further breakdown of how they work. So if we take a peek at this chart at the top, if we're using the device if functions, all you have to do is specify the device, whether mobile or computer, within the snippet of code. And the great part about these is that if you just open up the bracket, it will give you a few options. If you're familiar with countdown ads, this is the same process, but you just go down to if when that populates, and it will already be filled out for a mobile specified if function ad. Then you simply enter the ad copy that you want within the parentheses after the fact, and that will show up when somebody searches on a mobile device. So if we look at the example bottom left, on the mobile device it says free shipping on mobile orders instead of free shipping on orders over $25. This creates urgency. Somebody's not going to wait until they get home to make the purchase. If there's free shipping, they're just going to do it right from their phone. The audience one is a bit more complicated. It won't auto-populate for you. Basically, you'll select if function. It'll give you the function for device, and then you'll just need to delete that part and then insert the names of the remarketing lists you'd like to change your ad copy for based or in the format that it shows you in this image. So in caps, then within parentheses, and carets, the names of the remarketing lists, sans spaces. But here we have the example. They're using cart abandoners as the audience for which it will change. It increases the percentage off on the order for those customers versus somebody else who may have triggered the text ad getting 10% off. They're getting 15% off now. Again, creates urgency. I will give you this one caveat. You can't get if function specific data, performance data for audience ads. You can still segment by device in the dimension tab, and that will give you an idea of how you're performing on mobile versus on computers, but you can't see how your audience specific copy is performing versus your control group. Number 7 is frequency capping your displayed remarketing ads. Basically, frequency capping is putting a limit on the number of viewable impressions that your prospects see. Now, this is an essential component of nurture because you don't want to make people angry. You don't want to make them find you irritating or resent you because you're spamming them with your ads. So you can set a cap on it. If you don't set a cap on it, people aren't stoked. They're probably not going to make a purchase. Although it might seem like if a pair of shoes follows you around for weeks, you'll inevitably buy them. Odds are you're probably just going to annoy someone. To figure this out, you can pull reach metrics data into the campaign level in the AdWords UI, and specifically we want to be looking at unique cookies and average view frequency per cookie. So this is, cookies are basically code that allows us to give a tailored experience to a user based on like what they've visited, what they've done on site. And average view frequency per is how often a cookie, device, browser, person sees an ad based on whatever time we're also outlining here. It's going to differ based on what you're selling, what your typical buy cycle looks like, on what your frequency cap should be. But I think you can probably get an idea based on your own experience navigating the internet on what's too much.
Number 8, push leads down the funnel with Facebook. So kind of building on of what I talked about earlier, you can use that universal tracking pixel to essentially track, I mean, in a way, you can build audiences from conversions all throughout your marketing programs. Specifically, you can take, because everything's URL-based, if you have specific URL parameters that are unique to each channel, you can break them out by channel, things like that. But the idea is to take those, and this is where the big part of nurturing comes in, is to take those conversions that you have building over time in Facebook and to put them into their own obvious targeting ad sets, where you can take, for example, people who downloaded content here and then putting them in an ad set and following it up with promotions. So for this example, we've taken people that are already familiar with our brand and showing them the next stage in our funnel that we'd like them to experience. Now, the logic behind this is these two promotions on their own would be a lot more costly and would drive a lot less results than if we took this nurturing strategy that we've developed. The numbers, we've actually put the numbers together and shown that both conversions combined, the downloaded content and the completed lower funnel promotion, are both cost less than the actual pushing of these lower funnel promotions to people that have no familiarity with WordStream and are not likely to convert on these. And number 9, using exclusionary audiences. So this kind of ties back into what I was saying. You can take an audience, like in this example, I take the 90-day remarketing audience, and you can exclude a segment from that. So in this example, we're hitting people within that 30-day window in between the 90 and the 60-day. Another example of this would be to, show to take a base audience and to exclude people that converted on a specific conversion that you're not looking to promote to. So from this 90-day remarketing audience, I could include to exclude people that have downloaded content. And then if we do that, then we can show them a different promotion or piece of content.
Number 10 is that lookalikes and similar audiences are your best friend. So once we've moved cohort or individual through the funnel, they've converted, we want to refill the funnel, and ideally we'd like to fill it with prospects who are close to ready to convert. People who, I mean, as the title of the slide says, are similar to our previous successful audiences. So in AdWords, we do this with similar audiences. Basically, the way this works, you identify your best customer segment, you create a similar audience, you engage with them, and ideally they convert, and you can make similar audiences of your similar audiences and make money in perpetuity. Here you can either use target and bid, like we talked about before, so you can make very concentrated campaigns that are only focused on these tiny subsets and you're only going to pay to show to them, or you can simply add bid modifiers to existing campaigns that allow you to pay a little more for people you think could be more qualified. In AdWords, or in Facebook rather, is where this really shines though. Lookalike audiences, because again there are so many different targeting opportunities, you can get a lot closer from a customer profile level to matching and duplicating and finding new people. And to do this, we can take a look at audience size based on the parameters that we identified, the attributes of an existing customer. And then we can also make different audiences based off of these seed audiences. So that's what you see on the bottom of the screen here, where it says number of audiences 5, and then has the different dots plotted on this line. Basically, the 1% audience, which is the smallest audience here, are the people who are closest to our initial seed. Those are going to be our most qualified, at least according to Facebook. And typically the 1% group is really valuable. You don't want to advertise to it with too much frequency, too much gusto, because those people might not respond especially well to that. You're going to want to nurture them and bring them down to eventually convert. The other groups are still going to be valuable to you. They're just less similar to your seed audience. So better than random traffic makes this way more valuable than like bench ads or something like that. But the smaller, the closer the audience is to your seed, the more valuable this kind of targeting is going to be in refilling your funnel, keeping your nurture program going.
And finally, number 11, use dynamic remarketing to stay in front of cart abandoners. So Alan kind of talked earlier about obviously not annoying people and having your frequency through the roof, but there is something to be said about people that have visited specific pages that you have products on, or that you have a specific promotion that you want them to convert on, and then dynamically remarketing to them again with either the same promotion or something similar to that. In this example, obviously with MVMT watches, the initial watch or page that you were on, kind of the ad that's being served to you shows that watch, but also a bunch of similar watches. So if you don't particularly want to convert on that one, you might convert on a different one. And this kind of takes everything that Alan and I have talked about throughout the entire webinar and ties it all together so that you can derive the most value out of your remarketing when you're doing it on Facebook and AdWords.
In summary, the points that I touched on include keyword research and audience definition, so getting in front of the right people right out of the gate and identifying the terms with which they search, ensuring conversion tracking code is implemented and firing on your website so that you have some semblance of measurability with your paid advertising, using if function ads at the device and audience level to kind of speak to the needs of smaller subsets of your prospect base, frequency capping so as not to annoy people, and using lookalike and similar audiences to refill your funnel with higher quality traffic.
And to summarize what I've talked about today, finding the right ad format for your offering, so kind of going back to what is the offer? Do you want it to align with your email marketing campaigns or other campaigns that you have running throughout your site and paid programs? Align messaging between platforms, so that's kind of using Facebook and AdWords together as a team to pass leads off to each other. Develop and grow remarketing lists, just to reiterate the extreme importance of having these tags throughout your site so that you can develop and you can grow and you can segment these remarketing lists further and be strategic about it. Facebook conversion tracking to move leads down the funnel. It's huge to have obviously those conversions recorded in Facebook so that you can go back and know who committed what action on your website and then to remarket to them in a very strategic way. And then, of course, exclusionary audiences, and this goes for both AdWords and Facebook. With AdWords, obviously, with negative keywords and excluding lists and such like that through GA. And then with Facebook, what I walked through with taking specific audiences and taking a segment of those audiences to remove them from it. And then, of course, when we tied it all back together with cart abandoners and how to kind of be persistent in your pursuit of customers.
Yeah, so overall, everything that Brett and Alan just went over today, it comes down to a simple equation here, and that we piece all of this together to really make you have the best experience possible. So what we have for you guys today is we have a special offer for everybody who is on the webinar right now. If you would like to have a free demonstration of the software that Alan and Brett both kind of talked a little bit about throughout the presentation, and that is the WordStream Advisor software. You could get a demonstration of that platform from a certified expert, just like Brett or Alan, and you can kind of see how that software can help you guys make the most of some of the efforts that these guys talked about today. So while you guys are deciding whether or not you would like to get some extra help with your AdWords account, we will get to some of the questions that came in. So one question, this has specifically to do with some of the Facebook advertising. Do you think that Facebook is a good tool for B2B marketing as well as B2C, or is one more beneficial than the other?
I would say absolutely for both. I have done it kind of in both spaces, and I do B2B for WordStream itself, and we're extremely successful. It's actually one of our largest channels. That and paid search are neck and neck in ties for budget and things like that. And to kind of further explain that, as my logic or my philosophy behind it is that whether it's B2B or it's B2C, you're marketing to people. And so, like, no matter what platform they're on, they're still the same people. They still have the same needs, and the same value proposition is going to resonate. It really just depends on having the right audience or targeting the right people.
Awesome. This question is more specific to that if function that you guys discussed. So is that only applicable for AdWords?
Yeah, there's not really anything like the dynamic if function ads in like Bing. I don't believe outside of dynamic remarketing there's anything like that in Facebook either. But there are like mobile only ad formats that exist on different platforms. So if you're looking to use them specifically for device level stuff, there are ways to parallel that strategy. Again, like at Bing or on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter.
Gotcha. This question has to do a little bit more with the actual creatives that are used in the ads. Can creatives be repurposed across the different platforms that you guys talked about?
Absolutely. So, I mean, kind of from a strategic standpoint, you want to be consistent in your approach with creative. Obviously, you can have slight variations, but when it comes to like branding and recognition and things like that, you absolutely can use something that you've used in display remarketing on Facebook, and obviously kind of, or using something on Facebook that that you've used in email nurture and things like that.
Awesome. We've got just one more question, and this has to do a little bit more with the WordStream software. There was mention of the unified pixel and how that kind of would help streamline the process for somebody who was attacking this strategy using the WordStream software. Can you just explain a little bit more about how that works?
Sure. So, I mean, when you go out to do all this on your own, you have, I mean, that's why I think the platform's so great, is because you can take, you know, you go into AdWords, you go into Facebook, you go into all these different things, and you have to, you know, download these specific tracking pixels from each one and go and implement it on your own. You're doing all that in-house. With Facebook, with WordStream, you have one that, you know, accounts for all channels, so it's cross-platform, and it cuts out all of that annoying code work that most people don't want to do, and it gets complicated, especially if you don't have a strong background in HTML or any of that. It's extremely efficient because WordStream has people that can implement it for you.
Awesome. Great. Okay, well, that just about does it for the time that we have today. Thank you to everybody on the line for joining us, and we definitely hope that you will follow up with WordStream. Definitely check out our website and check out those free resources and tools that we have for you all to continue with the strategies that Brett and Alan have introduced you to. And also a huge thank you to my friends Brett and Alan for sharing all of their valuable insight with you all today.
Thanks, Michelle.
All right.